Shop St. Vinny's to help your planet, help your budget, and help your neighbors in need. Give gently used items a new life. For your wardrobe, you can find such cute pieces. And stop contributing to the harms of fast fashion. In 2023 alone, they recycled 225,000 pounds of clothes a month. Plus, it's a steal, y'all. These are budget prices for things like kids' clothing as they grow, college students trying to find furniture for their space. Y'all, look no further. Plus, all proceeds stay in Dane County, so you're helping our community. Shop St. Vinny's today. This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Today, we're bringing you a guide to Tuesday's primary election, what you need to know for voting, who's on the ballot, plus bringing back a mashup of our gubernatorial candidate answers for why they think that they are the best candidate to be Wisconsin's next governor. Joining me today is CityCast Madison producer Jade Isiri Ramos. Jade, thanks for being here.
I am so happy for Election Day, Bianca.
Yes, it snuck up on us. I'm sure some folks don't feel that way, but things have been happening in Madison that have had our attention. Jade, tomorrow is the August primary, and you're here to help prime us. Let's start with early voting. That's done, right? It's done and over with at this point.
So yes and no. The last day to vote early in person was on Sunday, but if you still have a mail-in absentee ballot, you can drop that ballot off to one of the city's drop boxes or to the clerk's office. And you can also take it to your polling place or the clerk's office on Election Day.
Okay, so if you got your absentee ballot, there's still time for you.
Yeah, and I think another thing, Bianca, worth noting is that this election specifically, if you've already voted and your candidate has dropped out of the race or suspended their campaign, you can't re-vote. So that's sort of the issue with early voting is sometimes things change. Sometimes we have big change-ups. People leave and re-enter races, and your ballot's already cast if you voted before those things happened.
Yes, that's definitely a hot topic. And that has been settled in the courts. And I believe you're alluding to the Democratic gubernatorial candidates who are no longer actively campaigning, but whose names are still on the ballot. Missy Hughes, Sarah Rodriguez, and Mandela Barnes, right?
Yeah, I mean, technically, I guess one of them could still win, even though they're not actively campaigning.
Oh, what a world. What a world. Jade, what do people need to know about Election Day voting?
Yeah, so polls open at 7 a.m. and they close at 8 p.m. And an important note about that 8 p.m. deadline, if you are in line at 8, they have to let you vote, so stay in line. You can find your polling place at myvote.wi.gov. And it's always a good idea to double check that you know where your polling place is because they change occasionally. And if you're registered to vote, all you need to do is bring an ID. So that's like a Wisconsin driver's license or photo ID card. And it's okay if that ID is expired as long as it expired after the last November election. And if you recently renewed your ID and haven't gotten the physical card yet, the paper receipt that you get from the DMV also works. You can also bring a U.S. passport or other forms of ID that work that are a little less common are a military ID card, a certificate of naturalization, an ID card issued by a Native American tribe, a Veterans Affairs ID card, and in some cases, a special voter ID from a Wisconsin college or university. And if you're not registered to vote, you're going to bring your ID card, and you're also going to bring something to prove that you live where you live. So that can be a utility bill, a bank statement, a pay stub, a lease. There's tons and tons and tons of things that can qualify here. The city has a good list on their website if you are curious about what you need to bring with you. And then I should also note, if you recently moved, it takes 28 days to establish residency. So if you just moved, or if you're planning to move, when everyone moves in a week, you are going to vote at your previous address.
Okay, those are all good things to know. You got to be up to date on those rules so you're feeling smart and equipped to vote. Thank you, Jade, for that. Now, let's talk about what's on the ballot.
Yeah, so I think everyone knows at this point that we are voting in the primary for the gubernatorial race. There are 2 candidates on the Republican ticket and 7 on the Democratic one. Okay, so technically There's 7 that'll be on the ballot. There's only 4 who are still actively campaigning. And Bianca, you talked to almost all the candidates who are still in the race.
Yes, I interviewed Francesca Hong, Kelda Roys, David Crowley, Joel Brennan, and Andy Mansky. Tom Tiffany did not reply to our many emails. We're going to hear a brief section from each of those interviews later in the show. The governor's race is huge. We're on it. We're trying to keep y'all updated there. And yeah, there's probably technically is still time for candidates to drop out. So still try and stay up to date. But now that you know who's actively campaigning, Jade, let's move to some of the other bits on the ballot. Like what else and who else can folks expect there?
Yeah, so depending on if you're voting on the Democratic ticket or on the Republican ticket, you might be deciding on contested races for Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State, State Treasurer, and the Dane County Sheriff. And if you're voting Democratic, U.S. Representative Mark Pocan is facing a challenger, Douglas Alexander, in this primary.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Mark Pocan has a challenger.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, right? Mark Pocan, who's represented Wisconsin for a long time, or our section of Wisconsin for a long time in the U.S. House, is facing a challenger who is mostly running on there should be term limits in Congress. And then, we also have the Dane County Sheriff who has a challenger in this primary, really running on issues surrounding the Ridgeland Farms situation that really caught a lot of national and local light this year.
Yeah, it is interesting having candidates who are running and possibly could win, but have kind of tough races, but trying to bring awareness to certain issues. Like that's always fascinating here.
Absolutely. And then also a big ticket for some people on their ballot. Democratic voters in the state 76th Assembly District will be deciding between 5 candidates vying for the seat, which is currently held by Francesca Hong, who's running for governor. And the winner of that primary will face off with the Republican candidate who is running unopposed.
Yeah, and we asked the 5 Democratic candidates to fill out a questionnaire, which can be found on our website, along with all our other election coverage, trying to get their points of view on what are the biggest issues in Madison. And that's a great resource. So, Jade, thanks for breaking all of this down for us. I hope folks are feeling more ready.
Yeah, go vote, guys.
All right, and up next, we are bringing you a mashup and audio from our interviews with the gubernatorial candidates who came on the show. Again, that's everyone in the race, sans Tom Tiffany, who did not get back to our team. If you did not get a chance to listen to those or want a refresher on who's running and why, stick around. And while we're on this subject, we do want to hear from you, listener out there. What are your thoughts about this primary election? Is anything standing out to you about the candidates? Or do you have questions? Text us or leave us a voicemail at the CityCast Madison line at 608-318-3367. We'd love to include your thoughts in an upcoming mailbag segment. All right, stay close. So who is running for Wisconsin governor this primary and why? We got you. I spoke with every candidate who's still running in the race in the Democratic primary and one of the 2 Republicans. We've pulled together their top answers to the question, why do you think you are the best candidate to be Wisconsin's next governor? On the Democratic side, we've gone alphabetically. Up first is former Department of Administration Secretary Joel Brennan.
I've had about 2 decades of exclusively executive experience. Over the course of a 30-plus year career, I've been a problem solver in government, in the nonprofit sector, in business. And the longest stint I had was as the head of the largest science technology museum in Wisconsin called Discovery World. We can talk about that if you want. But the most relevant experience that I had is having been the top appointee for Governor Evers on his cabinet as Secretary of Administration for 3 years, including during COVID. And that was the time, you're in Madison, lots of people who work inside state government. I have never been more proud of working alongside people than during COVID, because we needed to get millions of dollars out to family farmers, to small businesses, to renters and homeowners who were otherwise going to have huge problems, or even people were going to die. And that was when government worked. And I think I want the job. I think I can do the job because I have made government work. And I think that's what we need right now. Instead of just being about vengeance, instead of just being about grievance, it's got to be about how are we getting somewhere and getting things done.
Up next, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley.
Well, one, I think there's a lot of frustration. not just frustrations with the Republican Party, absolutely frustrated with who's occupying the White House, but frustrations with the Democratic Party as well. I do think that we have been fighting back here in Wisconsin, across this country, but we haven't really communicated what we're fighting for, what the vision and the mission is that we have as Democrats. And so I'm really focused on making sure that we can lower costs for working families, that we can put more people to work, care for our community, and create more opportunities no matter what zip code you live in. And this is a great opportunity for us to coalesce around a candidate that can ultimately defeat a MAGA extremist like Tom Tiffany from occupying our governor's office.
Next up, State Representative Francesca Hong.
We are in a movement moment, and the movement demands someone who can build coalitions that will put the majority, which is working class people of Wisconsin, first, and will fight for the universal policies that meet the scale and scope in the growing struggles of working class folks: wages, corporate corruption, unfair taxes, and working class people getting screwed by a rigged economy. And it's been our message, our vision is resonating with folks across the state, and it's exciting to see people be excited about politics again.
And last but not least on the Democratic primary side, State Senator Kelda Roys.
I am running for governor to raise wages, lower costs, fully fund our public schools, and to protect our freedoms from this dangerous authoritarian regime. I have been standing up to bullies and billionaires just like Donald Trump and Tom Tiffany for my entire career. And I am the candidate that has shown an ability again and again to turn progressive ideas into law in the toughest of political environments. We are moving from our goalie era to our governing era, and we do need our strongest, most effective fighter as governor to seize this moment and make the transformational change that all of us deserve.
All right, we're turning now to the Republican primary race. Again, there are two names on that ballot, U.S. Representative Tom Tiffany and medical services technician Andy Mansky. Andy Mansky was the only candidate on that end to come on the show. Here's his answer to the question, why do you think you're the best candidate to be Wisconsin's next governor?
So in that regard, I don't really trust politicians. I know that's an unusual thing. Poll after poll have shown that the public doesn't trust politicians. That includes myself. Lies. I mean, I grew up with many politicians lying, saying, we'll do this, we'll do that. It doesn't really happen, unfortunately. I'm the only non-politician in the race. Many people want to claim that they're not a politician. I'm literally not. I have a day job. I'm a medical worker. I show up every single day in 15 counties across Wisconsin. But at the end of the day, I'm a regular person. What you're getting is somebody whose values, because look, I was raised religious. I don't put it on anybody one way or another. But truth, transparency, rejecting greed, all those elements are important to me. I don't got big dollar donors or super PACs or crazy stuff like that. I'm just a regular guy. So I honestly would love to see an election where it's a regular person versus some politician. I think it'd be hilarious. I want to see what happens. You know, I like to have fun. I think many of these politicians are very stiff and honestly not all with it. I think it's okay to have fun and crack jokes and have a conversation and just, pull up and meet a stranger.
Okay, y'all, thank you so much for listening. And if you want to hear the full interviews with these candidates, we got you. Head to our show notes for a link that's got the episodes all in one place for you. And also our election guide that has all the election details we dug into at the top of the episode. I know we all think differently. Sometimes it's good to hear it. Sometimes it's good to read it online, on paper, whatever you need. We're out here trying to be a resource. Happy voting, y'all. That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm your host, Bianca Martin. Don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Madison. And if you enjoyed today's show, why not share this episode with a voter? Yes, help spread the word about what you need for this election. Coming to you from CityCast Madison. We will be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. And until then, take good care and thanks for listening.